with Ryan Day around the league, little portal drama. So this was very what interests me the most on this tweet here is the noise on oops with the money. Now again, this is Pete Nakos. Everyone's going to ask, where is this money coming from? The noise of the money. We'll never know. We'll never know. But what was tweeted out here is Jeremiah Smith has a $4.5 million offer. Now, I remember when we talked, Florida was talking about it in our Discord and whatnot about, hey, what is, if we could go get Smith in the portal, what would his cost be? And I think we were talking like, oh, it's got to be at least 1 or 2. And then I think he had a good game against Texas, or who was their second game? Oregon. And then it's like, hey, it's like 2.5. It's like 2.5. And then, of course, he does what he does in the national championship, and now it's 4.5 plus. And what's crazy about that is Beck, essentially signed a $4.5 million deal with the Miami, quote unquote, which was the biggest college deal there is. $4.5 million. Carnell Tate, you see, is offered 1.5 or 1. And just before the show started, Tate announced that he would be returning as a Buck, given though those speculations were out there that he could be leaving for some pretty cheddar. So if this is true, if these numbers are true, that's $6 million in 2 people. And your boy Caleb Downs getting paid. He's in that $2 to $3 million era. So we're at $9 million for 3 players. 3 players. Julian Saint's supposed to be the next big thing. He's getting 1.5 at least. So now we're over 10 now. We're at 10 million in 4 players. 4 players. If these numbers are even realistically true. And let's say they're not. Let's say they're off a couple million, north or south. So we're talking 7 or 13, but either way, 7 million tied up in 4 players. Unreal. And yeah, that 4.5 million offer. Great point, Eric Buchholz. Who is that coming from? Texas or Oregon? We've talked about this on the show. There ain't that many big fish out there that are going to just be throwing their cheddar like that. Like who's got that ability to get it done? Texas or Oregon. And Texas is an interesting one. He's got Texas at number 2, Joel Klatt on his way too early top down. I think Joel Klatt does a great job, by the way. And Texas, I think they're a little overrated. I think it's a little high in my opinion. I think there's a lot of hype coming for Arch, and I love that. I think he's going to be great. But they lost a lot of key pieces too. And it feels like, and I've said this before, Sark is kind of looking a little bit like Ryan Day. What Ryan Day was his first 4 years. A lot of talent around him, kind of in a perfect situation to be successful, and it just can't seem to get out of his own way. There's just something missing. And I feel like that's going to be exposed a little more next year. Possibly. Could be wrong. Who enforces the cap? Bags still will be. Nope, he deleted his message. I was trying to see what Mr. Nobody said, but it was not English because he can't type or read. So that's where we're at with that. Now, the one thing that I continue to bring up when we talk about this college football is we know about the salary thing that's happening. This show is, of course, brought to you by BetUS. And right now, when you use the code YouTube150 at BetUS.com, you get 150% back on your first deposit, then 125 on your next 2. And with the football playoffs, college football championships and playoffs happening, and then March Madness right around the corner, there is not a better time right now than to sign up for BetUS.com and use that code to maximize your return. Check it out, BetUS.com. Use the code YouTube150. Now back to the show. Get after it. In the middle of the summer, around June, does it clean this up? From my understanding, when we talk to Zach, no, it doesn't sound like it's going to clean up. It sounds like the price of these players is going to go up. That's what it appears to be like. But we see the meetings happening, and what also happened with this is that Ryan Day was outspoken on this and kind of was saying that there's a gray area. The coaches need to come together to figure this thing out. And I tweeted out, I said, the irony, last year when you landed Quinshon Judkins and snatched Caleb Downs from Georgia from underneath their nose, you didn't say it was great then. And again, everyone's doing it. It's just, ironic and hypocritical when you're doing it. You ain't nothing to say. And then when someone's sniffing in your back, you're like, whoa, this is just a little uneasy here. The part of this too is like, how are we getting these numbers? How is this even getting out? It's the agents, bro. It's always the agents. There's no other way around it. And that's probably how they're getting around, I would argue, the tampering laws. is it's the agents having the conversations. The agent's not tied to the player. So the agent goes to Texas or goes to Oregon and has a conversation with said NIL, with said anybody, with said Phil Knight. I don't see how it's. I mean, it's tampering, right? In the grand scheme of things, of them reaching out, but is it by the law tampering? I mean, he could call his parents and say, "Hey, tell Jeremiah we'll offer him 4.5 if he wants to come play for the Ducks." Yes, it's tampering, but if it would it hold up in the court? And I think that's where they're at with it. And the agents, I mean, if the agents are having to be held accountable to those rules, and there's no investigating on that, I don't see it getting clean. I think what has to happen, and we've been hammering home on this, is just you've got to have the you got to put some contracts in place. If I sign you, you got to be here for a year or two. Now, I think if you want, what you can do, because think about like a Jeremiah Smith, for example. If he signs a rookie contract his freshman year, that thing probably was worth $1 million, given the fact that he was the number one player in the country the year that he came out. It's going to be fat dollars. But what he just did in year one, I mean, let's say he was getting one and a half. He's like, hey, I'm worth 3 times that. We knew I was going to be good, but I'm way better than you and I both thought. So you got to, you leave that maybe in your contract of like, hey, we'll negotiate with you, but you can't search the market. You got to come to us first, and we've got to work out an internal deal. And if you decide to move on, it hacks anything that we owe you, and maybe you pay it back. Maybe it breaks the contract. I don't know. These things are tough for me. I don't make these rules, but there just needs to be a little bit more organization for everyone's sake, for us, for fans, right? So we're not having to buy 3 jerseys every year in the middle of the year. Let us have a little bit of fun. Like the whole NIL thing, we were excited to finally buy jerseys and support our guys, and now we can't. We can't even do that. That's scary. Jack Piper, I thought that was going to be a lock. I was going to buy his jersey. Not anymore. Not anymore. Might as well just go buy the 115 like we have for the last 30 years. Right? Yeah, define something. There needs to be some standards, some boundaries for this, so we can have some structure to it, some healthy structure. Again, I'm all for these cats getting paid. I'm all for them asking for more and leveraging their skills and their ability to do all those things. But get us some boundaries. Give us some boundaries.